Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, we've got one day until WWDC. Yeah, I don't like saying it either. I got a new word for it, okay? Since we're saying WW, why don't we save time and just say quadruple U DC? Eh? Better? No? Okay, well, it lasted for a day. Today, we're doing some last-minute predictions / leaks / rumors that everything we know about. No, we're not getting into the nitty-gritty details, but that's all I'm gonna be thinking about today, so that's all I'm gonna be talking about today. Without further ado, let's begin. Alright, let's get the boring stuff out of the way, the free stuff that we all get to benefit from at no additional charge, the software, okay? This is the only thing that's confirmed to happen at every single quadruple UDC. That's including, of course, iOS 14, or it might be called iPhone OS now. The next generation of iPadOS, watchOS 7, macOS, and tvOS. I think we're all mostly excited for tvOS, right? This could include some kids mode support, so letting the TV only display things that are appropriate for the little ones, as well as maybe ways to sync up with your Apple Watch and follow along with activities and workouts, as Apple, I think, is going to be orienting the keynote all around, see, we're all at home, right? We're all stuck here, so let's make experiences better for us at home, which will tie into the iMac later. But when it comes to watchOS 7, there has been a lot of rumors going around. Some, again, saying kids mode is going to be a thing where you can pair an Apple Watch to your iPhone, but put it in a mode that you can still track down your child if you want to know where they are, you want to know what they're doing, you want to check their heart rate, which I'm sure there's a lot of moms out there that would love this feature. And also, in the event of an emergency, they can contact their parents. And I've been saying this is a great idea for years. I've always thought that the Apple Watch would be the perfect technology to give to a younger kid, because you can't really play that many games on it, you can't watch videos, you don't even really have a web browser, and kind of Apple supporting it with watchOS 7 with a kids mode official thing. You could have it, you know, lock out so they can't be texting people during school and that kind of thing, but at the same time, you're able to know where your kid is. And it can also, of course, remind them to stay active and healthy, and with the rumored support of sleep tracking and being able to monitor how you're doing when you're trying to sleep, whether you slept well or not. Parents love that kind of data on their children, so I think it's gonna make a whole lot of sense for them. But also, if you're not a child, there might be people that just want to sleep track and have that built in by default, but there's also been rumors brewing of mental health features as well, which I'm still confused how that's gonna work, whether the Apple Watch is able to detect anxiety, or if that's gonna be a Series 6 feature somehow, I don't know. But even if it is, I don't understand how the watch could help. I feel like people with anxiety, if they got notified that their watch thought they had anxiety, would just get more anxiety after seeing that. I know it's happened to me a couple times. Sometimes I get really nervous about something and my watch is like, you okay, dude? Your heart rate's going crazy right now. And once I see that, I'm like, oh my god, I am going crazy, and the heart rate just accelerates even more. So I'm very curious how Apple's going to help with that. But the most interesting leak I've seen for watchOS 7 that I've seen a few people bring up was that there might be a fundamental redesign overall, so maybe that means redesigning the home screen or redesigning the menus, or so much so that it's possible the Apple Watch Series 2 will not even support watchOS 7. So they're going to be cutting off support to that of anything below the Series 3, which once again supports the ideology, in my opinion, that Apple is going to release an Apple Watch SE of sorts this September with the new iPhones, and it'll essentially look exactly like the Apple Watch Series 3, but they'll give it the 64-bit architecture, they'll give it fall detection, maybe even the ECG, just so that they can advertise it as the $200 Apple Watch that you can use for kids, you can use for health monitoring and that kind of thing. But yeah, if you want the prettier, gorgeous looking Apple Watch with the curved corners and the bigger display, then yeah, that'll cost you extra with the Series 6. So that's what I think they could be doing. If watchOS 7 does not work on the Series 2, I think that would support that ideology, given if they do nothing with the Series 3, again, that means going into 2021, 4 years old. And you know those Apple Watch CPUs do not age terribly well, so I think they need to update the internals, not necessarily the externals, but anyway. Of course, also expect some new watch faces, you gotta assume that. Same with tvOS, expect some new screensavers. That's probably the best feature the Apple TV has, to be honest. It makes your TV look good when you're not doing anything, but that's a waste of power, so don't do it anyway. Now getting into the good stuff. I am super pumped for iPadOS 14. I'm curious what they're gonna necessarily add aside from what we all care about, which is the Pro apps. I know we've seen the leaks for months and months now that Final Cut, Logic, Xcode are coming to the iPad Pro at some point in the next year, but why not announce that at quadruple UDC? Because that's when all of the developers are watching, all of the software is announced. Even if they don't plan on officially launching these Pro apps until the end of the year, or maybe even early next year, I feel like they would still announce it at this event, because they would not take stage time of the iPhone event to announce Final Cut for iPad. I don't think there's going to be an October event this year, so now is the event to announce a lot of things. And that might be a running theme with this video, is Apple could be announcing a ton of things at this event that may not be delivering very quickly. So the primary reason I think that there's going to be Pro apps at this event is because Apple could have easily, very understandably delayed the Magic Keyboard case and iPadOS 13.4 with the cursor support redesign and everything. They could have just delayed that for iPadOS 14, but they didn't. Instead, just a couple of months before announcing iPadOS 14, they wanted to launch this new keyboard case accessory with cursor support and a trackpad and kind of fundamentally changing the whole user interface of the iPad. They wanted to do that a few months before announcing iPadOS 14. Why? Why not just delay that? Because it seems like such a big change, such a big deal. Well, I think it's because they wanted us to be comfortable with keyboard and trackpad support. They wanted us to be comfortable with the new cursor so that we could be ready for Pro apps to come to the iPad. I still think there's a chance that it will be limited to certain iPads, so they may not launch Final Cut, Logic, and Xcode for every single iPad. In my opinion, there's a good chance they could only run it on the A12X or better. Meaning, yes, of course, only the iPad Pros of the last couple years would be capable of running these Pro apps because they're Pro iPads, but that could be good incentive for people to buy the latest generation iPad Pro, given if it's true that the iPad Air 4 is going to look very similar to the iPad Pro, then shouldn't that cannibalize a lot of the iPad Pro sales? Well, not if there's some software exclusives, and if you don't believe Apple is in favor of software exclusives, they still do not let you change camera resolution, frame rate from within the camera app unless you have a more recent iPhone. $400 iPhone SE? Yeah, you can do it on that, but that iPhone XR you spent $700 on a year ago? Nope, can't do it because you didn't buy a more recent iPhone. Apple loves their software exclusives, so I could see them doing that with the Pro apps. But when it comes to actual iPadOS, I mean, there's been some leaks that they want to do like triple multitasking now, so you can have 3 like iPhone-sized apps running by each other, which is great. Multi-user support is very much wished for a long time, but still, every year we hear leaks that they're doing it, and then they don't, so I'm hesitant to get excited about that. Same with the calculator and weather app. Come on, still another year. Here we go. As well as, of course, nifty little things here and there. Maybe some home screen redesign tweaks, as well as some more gestures that you can do with the keyboard, as well as being able to write mathematical equations with the Apple Pencil, and the iPad will be able to do those calculations in real time, you know, translate numbers to text. Things that third-party apps have been capable of doing for a long time. Apple might just want to build in this time around. And of course, more keyboard shortcuts for the Magic Keyboard case that could help with adjusting display brightness or volume and that kind of thing, which kind of ties into iOS 14, which is rumored to have some updates to Control Center, because we get Control Center updates every single year. I'm hoping personally they let you rearrange all those bubbles and maybe add some third-party ones instead of just first-party ones. I think third-party Control Center options would be very much appreciated, especially as it's looking more and more like a home screen when we see it. But there have been some leaks about adding widgets to the home screen that I'm still hesitant to believe, because the images I've seen have come from, you know, sketchy, cringy Instagram pages, so I don't know if we need to put much faith in them. But I personally still think iOS 14 is not going to be incredibly major. It'll have a few nifty tricks here and there, like the call animation not taking up the whole display. Of course, I did a whole video on why it needs to be boring, because it needs to be about stability and supporting every device that ran iOS 13. So I think this is the kind of year where iOS 14 needs to be somewhat boring. But either way, you can't get too upset because they're free. Everybody's going to be able to enjoy these new features we hear talked about, and we're going to know what those features are within the next 24 hours, which is great. Now let's get into hardware, which is my favorite part of any Apple event. Now there is a bunch of stuff rumored for this event. So much stuff, in fact, that I think some of it has to end up being wrong. So if you're watching this video in the future, you know exactly what did not come out. But I don't know at the time of recording this, but I will go through all of the stuff that's supposed to come out based on current leaks and rumors going around. So for one, AirPods Studio. Apple will be launching their own branded version of over-ear headphones. Still not quite sure if that's going to qualify for the back-to-school program. I feel like it should, but they're charging an extra $90 for you to get AirPods Pro, so maybe they will discount AirPods Studio, but I still feel like that should be included with the back-to-school thing. Outside of the deal, it should be around $350. Sound excellent, but more than likely have limited connectivity options, somewhat like the HomePod. So obviously, AirPods Studio is entering a very bumpy market. Lots of competitors they're going up against, between the Sonys, the Bose, their own Beats line, which Apple is probably planning on phasing out over time. So yeah, AirPods Studio, we know very little about the design, so that's why I'm very curious to see it tomorrow. As well as AirTags, which has literally been rumored for like 9 months now. I remember reading the AirTags name that was hidden in iOS 13 back in like September of last year, and we still don't have it. I mean, it's essentially confirmed from Apple because they've released support videos that reference AirTags. For whatever reason, because of the U1 chip or something, they didn't want to launch them quite yet, but those those are supposedly going to be unveiled at this event. Again, not shipping right away, but unveiled. We'll see how they work. We'll see what the design is, which is cool because we still don't know what they look like, and how the batteries and charging them is going to work. I still am confused about that. Personally, I would rather have rechargeable batteries that can charge either through my Apple Watch charger or a Lightning, or no, not Lightning. I meant USB-C. Don't bring Lightning up right now. But there's some leaks suggesting AirTags could come in 2 sizes, maybe different battery lives or different features and stuff like that. But obviously, yeah, you'll be able to drop them on your briefcase, your bike, your backpack, your favorite pair of sandals, and be able to track them from the Find My app in your iPhone. And there's also supposed to be a new Apple TV with maybe a slightly redesigned TV remote, but the TV box itself, it's essentially going to be the same except with an A12X chip, which personally, I don't think this is a good move for the Apple TV. For those of you who love playing games on it, I guess you'll get better performance now, but in my opinion, Apple needs to work on cheaper TV boxes, not more powerful ones, and it seems like they're just kind of leaning in the wrong direction here. But yeah, A12X chip inside an Apple TV, expect that. Probably to be announced alongside tvOS. And also a big announcement is the transition to ARM CPUs on the Mac. So you notice I didn't bring up macOS earlier. That's because we don't have a lot of leaks and rumors about the next generation of macOS for our current devices, but there's been non-stop talk about what Apple is planning for the ARM transition, which in my opinion, I think this could mean launching a 12-inch MacBook of sorts that Apple has now designed the insides and outside of. Now, current leaks are saying it's just going to be a transition announcement. There's not going to be any new hardware, but personally, knowing Apple and how mainstream they are today, I think even that would be a little bit too techy and geeky for them. They're going to want to show you what's possible when they're in design of the internals of the computer, not just saying, by the way, we're switching to ARM, because I feel like that would kill present-day MacBook sales. I think this could come with an announcement of macOS ARM, or a specified version of the operating system that will allow you to obviously run iPad apps fairly well as take advantage of Project Catalyst, and maybe the first ARM MacBook won't be capable of running any application that old macOS could, but it's going to come with a whole ton of benefits when it comes to boot up times, software optimization, and you'll be able to see that very, very thin and light notebooks will be capable of extreme performance, and that's how Apple is going to direct the ARM architecture. They're going to be like, this is what it should be, so get your apps ready, developers. So the announcement at least is happening, but not quite sure if the hardware is coming along with it. The other maybe on the hardware list is perhaps a HomePod Mini. We've seen it referenced many, many times in the past, but it's never quite come out. So the first HomePod was unveiled at Quadruple UDC back in 2017. Didn't come out until early 2018, but there's been rumors brewing of a smaller, cheaper, affordable version of that HomePod, and I think that could potentially sell really, really well, because the HomePod sounds great, it's just very overkill, and not that many people can justify a speaker of that power and caliber. So yeah, a smaller HomePod Mini is absolutely overdue. We need one, and I hope it gets unveiled, but again, that's on the maybe category because there haven't been a ton of leaks saying it's happening, but really hope we do see at least something. Now, of course, the biggest hardware I'm most excited for at this event, you guys know it, the redesign of the iMac. We've had the same front design of iMacs for over a decade now, and it's rumored that Apple is going to be launching a new iMac with an iPad Pro design language, as well as Pro Display like bezels. Not a Pro Display like display, okay? Get that XDR mini LED crap away from my iMac, because it needs to be cheap. There's been reports of a 23-inch iMac shipping later this year, and I am a diehard sucker for all-in-one designs. So if this thing looks anything remotely like the concepts we've made for it, I am super pumped to see how they price it. I can't wait to see the internal graphics, and hopefully if you update the webcams, Apple, because if you don't, there's no excuse. This thing isn't that thin. You can make the back of the iMac as chonk as you want to. As long as the front looks like an iPad Pro on a stick, I'm pumped, I'm excited, and I want better webcams, okay? And these better be priced somewhat reasonably. Everyone I've talked to thinks I'm over-exaggerating when I say the 27-inch is going to start at $3,000, and the 23-inch or 21.5-inch iMac will start at $2,000. But I have to remind you guys, when Apple switches away from hard drives and fusion drives and starts replacing them with SSDs, that always comes with a big price jump. The Mac Mini got like $300 more expensive just when they started shipping it with SSDs instead of hard drives. So if they're doing that as well as a big fundamental redesign to the iMac, yes, forgive me, I'm expecting a much more expensive machine, but so many of you are like, no, it's the iMac, it has to be cheap, it'll only get a couple $100 more expensive. Yeah, none of you guys would have believed it if someone said the Mac Pro was going to start at $6,000 and so was the Pro Display, and it was going to be maxed out at like $50,000. No one called that, okay? But this time everyone's like, oh no, it can't be that much more expensive. There's no Pro in the name. Since it's just iMac, it has to be cheap, right? Well, it sounds too good to be true. I hope you guys are right. I hope it ends up being cheaper than I think, but I'm still standing with $3 grand for the 27-inch model and $2 grand for the smaller one. This by far is the most exciting thing about the event to me, because I've been in the market for a Mac for a little while and I'm thinking about upgrading, and if this comes out and it's as great as I think it's going to be, it's definitely going to be my next big Mac purchase. So I'm not referring to McDonald's, but there's a ton of stuff, as you can tell, that could be announced tomorrow, and I'm very pumped for it. And as a reminder, here on YouTube, I will be doing a hype countdown stream, which means I'm not reacting to it on YouTube because YouTube doesn't like it when I do that, but Twitch seems to be very okay with it. So at 8:50 a.m. tomorrow Pacific time, I will start the YouTube hype stream where we can just party it up, talk about what we're most excited for an hour, and then 10 minutes before the event begins, I will be switching over to my Twitch page. If you don't have Twitch and you want to watch the event with me, make sure to download it, make an account, follow me over there, and yes, you can watch my entire reaction, start to beginning, of Quadruple U DC, and of course after that I'll be doing a recap video which you can watch on this channel. So if you have Amazon Prime, please link it to your Twitch account. You can support me for free over on Twitch, and you can have access to our exclusive cringy emotes, as well as the premium channels in our Discord. So please feel free to hit me up over on Twitter or join the Discord if you have more questions. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all tomorrow.